Hello all, myself Dr. Sudhir Prithvi. Today we'll be discussing about pharmacodynamics, one of the subtopics in general pharmacology. So let's dive into our discussion now. So here we'll be dealing about two definitions now. One is pharmacokinetics and other one is pharmacodynamics. So what is pharmacokinetics and what is pharmacodynamics? Pharmacokinetics is nothing but what body does to the drug. That is pharmacokinetics. What is pharmacodynamics? What drug does to the body? What is this? What body does to the drug and what drug does to the body? So let me elaborate this thing for you people. So here, pharmacokinetics. I told what body does to the drug. So we generally we take tablets for many reasons, maybe for infections, maybe for fever, maybe for pain, like that. So what happens after taking the tablet? So the tablet, it should be getting absorbed from GIT. So absorption, and later after absorption, it should get distributed in the body, right, via blood. So it will get distributed in all the tissues in the body. That is distribution. And next, after distribution, it will do its work, and later it undergoes metabolism. Yeah, means nothing but metabolism that happens majority of the situations in liver, and later after metabolism it will get eliminated from the kidney in majority of the cases, and in through bile in few cases. So this is what pharmacokinetics means. That means what our body is doing to the drug. So what our body is doing to the drug? Absorption, distribution, metabolism, and elimination. That is pharmacokinetics. And now I told pharmacodynamics. What is pharmacodynamics then? What drug does to the body? So here, in an easy way, you can remember. I told body does to the drug one thing, and drug does to the body. Here, pharmacodynamics. D, what drug does to the body. So today we will be talking about this pharmacodynamics completely, right? So let's start. Is it clear what is pharmacokinetics and what is pharmacodynamics? So let's start pharmacodynamics now. So let's see what is effect and what is action. So what is effect and what is action? So effect is nothing but it is a type of response produced by the body. It is nothing but response. And what is action? Action is nothing but how and where the effect is produced. So this effect, it can be quantified. That means we can measure whether it is increasing or whether it is decreasing. But action, it can be identified. We can see, that's it. We can't measure it. So now I told effect and action. So let me clarify you people by giving one small example. So with that example, you will never forget what is effect and what is action. So example, suppose for example, we will take one normal example which is known to everyone. Suppose during menses, you people will have cramps, right? So for that cramp, for that cramping pain, what tablet generally take? What tablet generally girls take? Mefenamic acid, that is meftal right? So after taking meftal definitely the cramping pain will be get relieved. That you know. So let's see what is effect and what is action with a meftal. So after taking meftal, pain relieved, right? Pain relieved. Pain relieved. So this is nothing but effect. This is nothing but effect. Okay, fine. Then what is action? So how you are getting that cramps? Because of prostaglandins. Because of prostaglandins, you are getting that cramping pain. So what is the action then? These meftal it inhibits it inhibits inhibits that inhibits prostaglandin synthesis. Inhibits the prostaglandin synthesis. So it inhibits prostaglandin synthesis and your pain is getting relieved. So this inhibition of prostaglandin synthesis is nothing but action. Now you understood what is effect and what is action. So during period cramps, if you take meftal which contain mefenamic acid, it inhibits a prostaglandin synthesis, which is responsible for period cramps, and later pain is getting relieved. The action is inhibition of prostaglandin synthesis, and effect is relief from the pain. So this is what effect and action. See, I told effect is quantified. Quantified means the pain can be relieved or maybe exaggerated. So we can quantify it whether it is decreasing or whether it is increasing. But see, action is nothing but just an identification whether it is inhibiting the prostaglandin synthesis or not. So that is what the thing here. What is effect and what is action? So now we will see what are the sites of drug action. There are three sites: extracellular, cellular, and intracellular. So now we will talk just examples for extracellular, cellular, and intracellular. Extracellular, antacids and magnesium sulfate. What are the drugs? Example for cellular action: digoxin, which is used in heart failure, which you will be learning in your further classes, and regarding antacids also, which you will be learning in further classes. Intracellular, sulfa drugs. This one also, which you will be learning in your further classes. Um, See here in pharmacodynamics, I will be saying so many drugs, but don't get panic. All these drugs you will learn in your further classes. So, but here as an example, I will be saying all these drug names. But as of now, you just remember the drug names and remember what I told about the drug. In later, in your whole pharmacology, you will be getting all these drugs in detail, right? So after finishing the site of drug actions, now we will see mechanism of action of drugs. Okay, you will take the drug through any route of administration, whether it may be oral or whether it may be IV, whether it may be subcutaneous, whether it may be sublingual, anything. So you took the drug. So how the drug is going to act and how we are getting the effect, that is relief. So here there are three uh, classifications for mechanism of action of drug. Number one, receptor mediated. Number two, non-receptor mediated. Number three, targeting the specific genetic changes. The last one, targeting the specific genetic changes, is for anti-cancer drugs. So that's it, nothing much about that one. Which these targeting the specific genetic changes drugs, I told anti-cancer drugs, right? Which I will be dealing about those anti-cancer drugs in my next class. So now we will talk about receptor mediated and non-receptor mediated actions. So first we'll start with receptor mediated. So before going to this receptor mediated one, I want to tell a few terms: affinity and efficacy. So what is affinity and what is efficacy? So let's start now. So we took the drug. The drug, after taking drug will come and it will bind to receptor. So we took the drug, it will come and it will bind to receptor, and it forms a drug receptor complex. And after forming the drug receptor complex, it will show it response, right? It will show it response. So this is what the sequence here, whatever it may be the response, decreasing pain or increasing, whatever it may be. So finally it shows some response, right? So drug combining with the receptor, and it forms a drug receptor complex. And after forming the drug receptor complex, this drug receptor complex will show the biological response. You just remember this one now, as of now. So I told affinity and efficacy. So affinity, what is affinity? Affinity is nothing but ability of the drug to form the drug receptor complex. DRC means drug receptor complex. Ability of the drug to form the drug receptor complex after combining with the receptor. So ability to form this drug receptor complex is nothing but affinity. So this is affinity, ability to form the drug receptor complex. And what is efficacy? Ability of the drug receptor complex to initiate the biological response after forming the drug receptor complex. So after forming this drug receptor complex, ability to initiate the biological response is nothing but efficacy. So now you understood what is affinity and what is efficacy. Affinity is nothing but ability of the drug to form the drug receptor complex. And what is efficacy? Ability of the drug receptor complex to show the biological response, right? Ability of the drug to form the drug receptor complex is nothing but affinity, and this ability of drug receptor complex to show the biological response is nothing but efficacy. So now you learn the two terms, affinity and efficacy. Previously I told two terms, right? Effect and action. So till now you learned four terms: effect and action, affinity and efficacy. So so drugs are classified as below, like agonist, antagonist, partial agonist, and inverse agonist, based on two things, based on affinity and efficacy. So I will tell you what is this. Like, in your whole pharmacology you will be learning agonist, antagonist, partial agonist, inverse agonist, like that. Like everywhere you will be getting these terms. If you don't understand what is these agonist, antagonist, partial agonist, and inverse agonist, it will be very difficult for you to learn the pharmacology in future. Okay, so let's know what are these terms. So agonist. So I told here I will be dealing all these four terms with three headings: affinity, efficacy, and I will be giving one example also. So agonist will have high affinity and it has high efficacy also. High efficacy. Efficacy is equal to 1, I told. I will tell you what is 1, what is 0, and what is -1. All those things I will tell you. And next, I will be telling examples later on. Antagonist. Antagonist also will have high affinity. Affinity means I told ability of a drug to form the drug receptor complex. It is nothing but affinity. That is nothing but affinity. So efficacy means ability of the drug receptor complex to initiate the biological response. So the both are high for agonist, and for antagonist this affinity is high. It will form the drug receptor complex, but it will not show the biological response. That is what, no efficacy. It will not show the biological response. It will show some other thing. Partial agonist, it will have high affinity, but efficacy it is low when compared to agonist. For partial agonist affinity is low. Inverse agonist, it will have high affinity, but efficacy is negative. So I will tell you what is this agonist, antagonist, partial agonist, inverse agonist in a graphical way. Maybe you might understand all these things if I put all these things in a graphical way. See, agonist, I told affinity is high for all the things. Affinity is high, and for agonist efficacy is, I told, one, that is the highest one. And for partial agonist affinity is high, but E is nothing but, it is also good, but when compared to agonist that is less. That's why only I told 0 to 1. And for antagonist I told efficacy is 0. See, that is just a basal line, 0. Inverse agonist I told efficacy is 0 to -1. That is what, see the graph. So agonist, partial agonist, antagonist, inverse agonist. Is that clear now for all these things? What do you mean by agonist, partial agonist, antagonist, and inverse agonist? So let's see the examples now. Agonist, a morphine at the rate of opioid receptor, and morphine at opioid receptor is example for agonist. Antagonist, atropine at muscarinic receptor. Partial agonist, that is buspirone. Buspirone is an anxiolytic drug which used to decrease our anxiety. An inverse agonist, example is beta carbolin at GABA receptor. See, these examples I told you in the starting only. All these examples, as of now, you just remember these examples. Later on, you will understand what is morphine, what is atropine, what is buspirone, what is beta carbolin. All those things you will learn in your further sessions. Okay. As of now, you just remember agonist, antagonist, partial agonist, inverse agonist, how these are classified, and what are the examples. Is that clear? So we finished this agonist, antagonist, partial agonist, and inverse agonist, right? So now we will talk about receptor types. Here we'll be having 5 receptors. Number 1, inotropic receptor. Number 2, G protein coupled receptor. Number 3, kinase linked receptor. Next, intracellular receptor and enzymes which are acting as a receptor. Now we will be dealing what is inotropic receptor and what are these receptors and just an examples. That's it. We are not going in detail into those receptors. Fine? Right. Number 1, inotropic receptors. What is this inotropic receptors? Inotropic receptors, first we will see examples. Examples for inotropic receptors: nicotinic receptors, GABA, and glutamate. These are the examples for inotropic receptors. What happens here, inotropic receptors means, see, this is a closed form, that is in a resting stage. This orange color drug is orange color part is an inotropic receptor. See this ligand, if it comes and bind here, ligand is nothing but drug. If the drug comes and bind here, that is showing in this picture, if it binds here, then this will open. That is what here is unbound. Unbound is ligand is not binding here and it is a closed state. T. This is closed here. See here, it is opened. So all the ions will flow from extracellular to intracellular, and it will causes depolarization and shows all the biological responses. That is what inotropic receptor means. Is that fine? So what are the examples of inotropic receptor? Nicotinic, GABA, and glutamate. And then after inotropic receptors, we have G protein coupled receptor. See here in G protein coupled receptor, it, if I want to speak about this G protein coupled receptor, it will take at least like 1.5 hour to 2 hours if I talk about only G protein coupled receptor. So that much is definitely it is not needed for you. So as of now, you just remember what is G protein coupled receptor and what are the uh, isomers of in G protein coupled receptor and what are the examples of those things. That's it. You don't need to remember much about GPCR, right? So here, just G protein coupled receptor, it has three forms: GS, GI, GQ. And what are the examples of those GS, GI, GQ? That's it, nothing much. For GS, it has examples: beta receptors. In ANS, you will be dealing beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, histamine receptors, and serotonin receptors. In GI, you have alpha 2 receptors, same in sympathetic system, M2, M4 receptors in cholinergic system. GQ, alpha 1 receptors, here sorry, it is M1, not M2, it is M1. M1, M3, M5. It is in GQ. So GS, GI, GQ. These are the three subtypes. And what are the examples of those three subtypes? That's it. You don't need to remember much. And for extra information, you just remember this GI initiate the response by increasing cyclic AMP. This GI, this S is nothing but stimulation. S means stimulation, that is increases cyclic AMP. GI, inhibition, that means decreases cyclic AMP. So decreases cyclic AMP. So GQ, how GQ acts? GQ acts with phospholipase C activation. So how GQ acts means it acts just by phospholipase C activation. Nothing much. You need not remember much. So just G protein coupled receptor, GS, GI, GQ, and what are the examples? GS, it acts by increasing cyclic AMP. GI acts by decreasing cyclic AMP. GQ acts with phospholipase C activation. So that's it for G protein coupled receptor. Is that fine? So we completed inotropic receptor and G protein coupled receptor. And the third one is kinase linked receptor. So examples for kinase linked receptor are, there are three things. You can remember them like with a small kind of mnemonic. It is nothing but PIC, kinase. P means prolactin, I means insulin, and G means growth hormone. Fine. PIC, kinase linked receptor, you can remember like PIC, prolactin, insulin, and growth hormone. So here we finished inotropic receptors, G protein coupled receptors, kinase linked receptors. And next we have intracellular receptors. So intracellular receptors. So here we have cytoplasmic receptors and nuclear receptors. So what are the examples for intracellular receptors? Here these are the examples: vitamin A, vitamin D, glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and sex hormones. These are the examples for intracellular receptors. So we finished inotropic receptors, G protein coupled receptors, kinase linked receptors, mnemonic is PIC, intracellular receptors, and enzymes as receptors. In enzymes as a receptors, you have we have few enzymes: angiotensin converting enzyme, these angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, which you'll be learning in your cardiovascular system. So this is an enzyme. The drug go and it acts on that enzyme and inhibits that enzyme, right? That is example for angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. Example, captopril. Captopril, right? So, so these are the things. Sorry, captopril. So here we finish receptor types: inotrophic, G protein coupled receptor, kinase linked receptor, intracellular receptor, and enzymes as an receptor. So now let's see. Uh, so here we finished complete receptor mediated one, and now we will talk about non-receptor mediated type of actions. In non-receptor mediated type of actions, we have two things. One is physical and second one is chemical. First, we will see how the drugs acts in a physical way. Next, we will see how drugs act in a chemical way. So here I will be saying just what are the physical process, that is osmosis, adsorption, demulcents, astringents, and what are the examples. I told you, right? For as of now, you just remember the drugs in your complete pharmacology uh, subject. You will be getting all these drugs here and there, here and there, here and there, right? So what are the examples for osmosis? Mannitol. And next, adsorption. What is the example for the drug which act by adsorption? That is simethicone. That is nothing but simethicone. It absorbs the glass. Sorry, it absorbs the gas. Next, demulcent. It produces a soothing effect. What are the examples for the drugs which act as a demulcents? Glycerin and pectin. And next, the drugs acting as an astringents. What do you mean by these astringents? These astringents, they protect the mucosa by precipitating and denaturing the proteins. In that way, they protect our mucosa. So what are the examples? Silver nitrate and potassium permanganate. The silver nitrate actually they used for burns previously. Now because of other available good agents, we are not using that silver nitrate. And the major side effect for silver nitrate is it produces blackish discolorization. So these are the non-receptor mediated mechanisms in physical. So osmosis, adsorption, demulcents, astringents, and their respective examples. And next, non-receptor mediated mechanisms in a chemical. How? And what are the examples? Neutralization, ion exchanger, and chelation are the chemical processes, and we will see what are the examples. Neutralization, antacids and anticoagulants, which you will be dealing about all those things in antacids in GIT and anticoagulants in blood. Ion exchanger, that is cholestyramine, it decreases the lipids. Cholestyramine, which you will be dealing that about that cholestyramine drug in cardiovascular system. It is a hypolipidemic agent. Chelation. Chelation is nothing but, suppose, see, first we'll see these examples and later I will explain. EDTA, it chelates the calcium. Dimercaprol, it chelates mercury. Penicillamine for copper, and desferoxime for iron. So, what is this chelation? What are these chelating agents? For example, you got by chance we got mercury poisoning. Just in case we got mercury poisoning, so there is lot of mercury in our blood than the accepted amount. So what we will do? We will give dimercaprol. So what dimercaprol does means it will go and it will but takes the mercury and it will make that recept. So dimercaprol, after giving dimercaprol, this dimercaprol it binds to mercury and makes it as a water soluble complex and later it gets eliminated. Sorry for the disturbance before. So this is what the chelation. Is that everything clear with chelation? So these are the chelating agents: EDTA, dimercaprol, penicillamine, desferoxime. So these are the agents which they chelates: calcium, mercury, copper, and iron. So for example, if there is more iron in the body, if you go desferoxime, it will just absorb all the iron and it will get eliminated. If there is more copper in the body, but just in case, we will give penicillamine. If there is more calcium in the body, we will give EDTA. That is what chelation means. So here we completed non-receptor mediated mechanisms, physical and as well as chemical. So mechanism of action of drugs, receptor mediated finish, non-receptor mediated finish, and targeting the specific genetic changes. I told this is what nothing but anti-cancer drugs, which I'll be dealing in my next session. So next, what drug does to a living organism? So okay, you took the drug. So what it is doing to you, whether it is decreasing pain or increasing pain, causing any other side effects, what it is doing, that is nothing but qualitative aspects of drug effects. So here we'll be seeing these things, pharmacodynamic effects. So after taking the drug, we'll be getting two effects. Number one, desirable effects or beneficial effects, and we'll be getting undesirable effects or ADR. This is what the thing. So what is desirable effects? These are the effects. Suppose we got reduced pain or fever reduced, pain reduced, all these things comes under desirable effects. But we know every drug has side effects. Every drug, whatever drug you take, it will have side effect that may be ranging from mild to severe. It will have definitely side effect. That is nothing but those are the undesirable effects. So we should manufacture drug in such a way there are more beneficial effects and less adverse drug effects. That is nothing but ADR. ADR is nothing but adverse drug reaction. And now here we'll be discussing about these ADRs. ADRs type, it is divided into three types: type A, type B, and others. Others it include type C, type D, type E, type F. Right? So let's start with these ADRs. So type A. So type A and type B. So here there are like small differences between type A and type B. Type A ADRs, this incidence is high, but here the incidence is low. These are not that much common. Mortality. Mortality is low in case of type A, mortality is high in case of type B. These are dose dependent, these are dose independent. Here, if we reduce the dose, definitely side effects also will get reduced. Here, even if you reduce the dose, side effects are not reduced, doesn't decrease the side effects. That is what the difference is. Differences between type A and type B: incidence, mortality, dose dependency, reduction in the dose. Is that fine? So now let's talk about type A. Type A adverse effects. So these type A adverse effects are also known as expected undesirable. These are undesirable definitely, which we don't need, but these are expected. These are classified into three headings: side effects, secondary effects, toxicity. So what are the side effects? Example, suppose here I'll be dealing two examples for like many of drugs. Most of the drugs which we are using now, they cause epigastric distress. That is the reason why in prescription, doctor will be writing proton pump inhibitors like pantoprazole, omeprazole, esomeprazole, all those things. Doctor will be writing these proton pump inhibitors in the prescription because many drugs have epigastric distress. So that is what the side effect. And next, dicyclomine. Dicyclomine causes dryness of mouth. So dicyclomine is a drug which is used for colic pain. Suppose you have abdominal pain. So we give dicyclomine. It is available as a cyclopump. We take the drug. It will reduce your pain, but it causes dryness of the mouth. We will be learning about this dicyclomine in autonomic nervous system. So next, coming to secondary effects. Secondary effect means you took the drug, it does something, it decreased your symptom, but it caused one more symptom. That is what the secondary effects. So examples are antibiotics. They cause super infection. And the second one, corticosteroids. This is like a well-known example. Now in COVID, many people might have heard this one, like fungal infection, black, white, green, yellow, like so many rainbow colors. All these are known as super infections. Why we are getting those super infections? We use it corticosteroids in COVID cases. Okay, that actually we should use those corticosteroids in a uh, very with very caution. So in such a way, we should not overuse them. That is what the main thing. But many people they don't know, and they started using these corticosteroids. And because these corticosteroids, they will decrease our immunity. What happens if our immunity get decreased? We are more prone to infections. అంతే కదా, ఇమ్యూనిటీ తగ్గిందంటే ఇన్ఫెక్షన్స్ వస్తాయి మనకి. సో అదే అక్కడ జరిగేది. కార్టికోస్టెరాయిడ్స్ తీసుకోవడం వల్ల మన అంటే లైక్ ఎక్సెస్ ఆఫ్ కార్టికోస్టెరాయిడ్స్ తీసుకోవడం వల్ల ఇమ్యూనిటీ తగ్గింది అండ్ అగైన్ లీడ్స్ టు సూపర్ ఇన్ఫెక్షన్స్. అండ్ ఈ యాంటీబయాటిక్స్, ఇఫ్ యూస్ మోర్ యాంటీబయాటిక్స్, ఇట్ విల్ సప్రెస్ ద గట్ ఫ్లోరా. గట్ ఫ్లోరా. Sorry, I'm very sorry. So it will decrease the gut flora. So that is nothing but good bacteria which is present in our GIT. So it will decrease that gut flora, and if the gut flora is less in number or less in quantity, definitely it is prone to infections. That is a reason why we get super infections with excess use of antibiotics and excess use of corticosteroids even. And the next one is toxicity. Toxicity is nothing but over usage of the drugs. That's it, nothing much. Examples: overdose of heparin, it leads to bleeding. Overdose of atropine, it is nothing but atropine poisoning, which causes hallucinations, all those things, which you'll be knowing in detail in autonomic nervous system. So these are the type A side effects. Type A ADRs, three classification: side effects, secondary effects, and toxicity. Side effects example dicyclomine and many drugs that causes epigastric distress, and secondary effects antibiotics and corticosteroids which causes super infection, and the toxicity because of over usage of the drugs. So next, type B. These are the unexpected undesirable side effects. In type A, I told expected, undesirable. See, in type B, I am saying unexpected, undesirable. These are not expected side effects. Again, it has three types: hypersensitivity or allergy side effects, genetically determined ADR, and idiosyncratic reactions. Here, in hypersensitivity and allergy, there are four types: type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, which I will be speaking in my next slide. We will see these genetically determined adverse drug reactions and idiosyncratic reactions. Genetically determined adverse drug reactions means they are the main cause is the main cause is genetic. So what are the examples? Presence of atypical pseudocholine esterase and acetylator status. So what are the drugs which undergo metabolism by acetylation? Sulfonamides, hydralazine, isoniazid, and procainamide. And then idiosyncratic reactions examples: malignant hyperpyrexia, which are caused by which is caused by halothane and chlorpromazine. And next, aplastic anemia caused by chloramphenicol. See, all these drugs you will be learning about all these things: aplastic anemia, acetylator status, and these atypical pseudocholinesterase, and this halothane, chlopro, everything in your subsequent lectures. So I told you, and again I am saying, just as of now, you remember these names as of now, right? Next, coming to these hypersensitive allergic reactions, I told type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4. So these are the hypersensitive reactions. So type 1, it is an immediate reaction, and type 2 is an accelerated allergy. Type 3 is a serum sickness type. Type 4 is nothing but delayed reaction. So type 1, when this type 1 reaction occurs, it occurs very quickly, within 1 minute it will occur. So after taking drug, so within 1 minute, you will get this type 1 reaction. Type 2, they will occur within 72 hours, that is nothing but 3 days. Type 3, after 72 hours, less than 1 to 2 weeks. So within 1 to 2 weeks of taking the drug, we will get the type 3 reaction. And type 4, it is a late, that is nothing but delayed hypersensitivity reaction. And we have these examples. Type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, anaphylactic reaction after administration of penicillins. This one which you should know, because few people, they are not compatible with penicillins. That is the reason why we do test dose before giving penicillins. We'll give test dose in hospital. In that test dose, if he is compatible, we will give the penicillins. If he is not compatible, we should not give penicillins, and we will go to some other drugs which are alternative to penicillins. Suppose one patient, he took, without taking the test dose, he took penicillin. So within 1 minute he will get anaphylactic reaction. Anaphylactic reaction means bronchospasm, angioneurotic edema, hypotension, all these things will happen. So it is an emergency situation, otherwise patient will die. So how you are going to treat this anaphylactic reaction after administration of penicillins? The drug of choice for that one is adrenaline. Okay. And this anaphylactic reaction, this one is also will be covered by me in adrenergic system. I'll be talking about this anaphylactic reaction. And now I told, right, the drug of choice is adrenaline. We'll give adrenaline IM, intramuscular adrenaline. So how we are giving, what dose we are giving, in what way we are giving, all those things I will be covering that one, right? And type 2, these type 2 hypersensitivity reactions are common with quinidine and cefotitan. And type 3, they are common with ampicillins and NSAIDs. And type 4, it includes hypersensitive pneumonitis and contact dermatitis. Those are the examples, right? So here we finish type 2. I mean, sorry, type B. So we finished type A and type B. Let's see others. Others I told C, D, E, F. These are the things. Type C is nothing but chronic effect. Type D, delayed effects. Type E, end of treatment effect. Type F is nothing but failure of drug to produce the desired effect. So type C I told chronic effect. Chronic effect means we are using the drug for a long time. So what is that? After using the prednisolone drug for a long time, you will get Cushing syndrome. That is the example for type C. Cushing syndrome after use of prednisolone. And type 4, delayed effect. Delayed effect is nothing but, what is the example for delay effect? Teratogenic effect. That is, you will take the drug, you will not get the response now. You will get the response later, maybe after years like that. And type E, end of treatment effect. So suppose you are taking one drug, you should not, there are few drugs where you should not discontinue those drugs suddenly. If you discontinue those drugs suddenly, you will get some other effects that comes under type E. So rebound hypertension and sudden withdrawal seizures. Suppose you are taking rebound hypertension is nothing but you will get more BP. So the blood pressure will be more if you suddenly, if you discontinue the drug propranolol. And withdrawal seizures after sudden stoppage of phenytoin. So phenytoin is a drug which we use for epilepsy, that is for seizures, that is nothing but fits. So if you, we have to take that phenytoin lifelong. If you suddenly, if you stop using that phenytoin, you will get seizures, that is nothing but withdrawal seizures. And if you suddenly, if you stop the drug propranolol, which is nothing but beta blocker, which I will be dealing about those beta blockers in my next sessions. So as of now, you just remember that beta blocker. So rebound hypertension, you will get rebound hypertension with propranolol. Type F, so failure of drug to produce the desired effect. So we are taking the drug, but the drug is not producing the effect. That is nothing but type F. So here we finish it, these 8 years, and next we'll be talking about a small thing, specific toxicities due to drugs. Here you just remember what are the specific toxicities and drug names. Carcinogenicity, what drugs causes cancer? Estrogens, progesterones, tobacco. And doxorubicin is a drug which affects the heart. So heart toxicity is caused by doxorubicin, which is an anti-cancer drug. And liver toxicity, we know liver toxicity, definitely alcohol, everybody knows that one. And paracetamol, not in a normal dose, in a high dose. Paracetamol, it causes liver toxicity, and isoniazid, which is an anti-tubercular drug. And about these anti-tubercular, anti-leprosy, and anti-cancer, which I will be dealing in my next sessions. So it just as of now, you just remember the name. Renal toxicity. The renal toxicity means which damages the kidney, NSAIDs, and aminoglycosides. That's why only we generally ask old people not to take these diclofenac, these painkillers, like for a long duration, because they affect the kidneys. Next, neurotoxicity, which damage the neurons. uh, Example, isoniazid, which is an anti-tubercular drug. And next, ocular toxicity. Ocular toxicity is nothing but which affects the eye. What are the examples? Chloroquine and ethambutol. And next, ototoxicity. Ototoxicity is nothing but affecting the ear. Aminoglycosides. Next, teratogenicity. Teratogenicity, examples are thalidomide, warfarin, and phenytoin. These are the specific side effects, specific toxicities caused by drugs. So, so now let's start another topic. How drug effects can be measured. Okay, I told drug it is producing effect, right? How they are measured. So we will talk about these drug effects now. That is, those are nothing but quantitative aspects of the drug effects. So before going to those drug effects, what is dose? Dose is nothing but this is a definition of the dose. Required amount of drug in weight, volume, moles, or international units that is necessary to provide the desired effect. That is nothing but dose. In clinical practice, we call it as a therapeutic dose. In animal experiments, we call it as an effective dose. So here there are types of doses which you should know definitely. Single dose, daily dose, total dose, loading dose, and maintenance dose. Single dose is nothing but what are the examples? Single oral dose of albendazole 400 mg. So we will give that albendazole in order to eliminate those roundworms, all those things. Just one tablet, 400 mg. That's it. That is single dose. Next, daily dose. Daily dose, what is daily dose? Quantity of the drug administered in 24 hours. So this is a thing for a daily dose. So how much drug you are taking daily? That is in 24 hours. Example, cetirizine 10 milligram, erythromycin 1000 milligram. This 1000 milligram we will not give. This cetirizine will take 10 milligram like at once. So one cetirizine tablet, it dose is 10 milligram. And erythromycin, so we will not give these 1000 milligrams like completely. We will just give these 1000 milligrams in four divided doses: 250, 250, 250, 250. As of total is 1000. So that is for the daily dose. Total dose. What is total dose? This is a dose which is required for during the complete course of therapy. So treatment టైం అంతా నువ్వు ఎంత డోస్ తీసుకుంటున్నావో అది టోటల్ డోస్. ఓకే, డైలీ డోస్ అంటే ఒక రోజులో ఎంత డోస్ తీసుకుంటున్నావో అది డైలీ డోస్. నీ ట్రీట్మెంట్ టైం అంతా కలిపి ఎంత తీసుకుంటున్నావు అనేది టోటల్ డోస్. ఎగ్జాంపుల్, పెనిసిలిన్ జీ, ఇట్ ఈస్ యూజ్డ్ ఫర్ ట్రీట్మెంట్ ఆఫ్ సిఫిలిస్. 6 మిలియన్ యూనిట్స్ ఇస్తామన్నమాట. సో యాజ్ ఎ కంప్లీట్ కోర్స్లో వీల్ గివ్ 6 మిలియన్ యూనిట్స్. ఆ 6 మిలియన్ యూనిట్స్ అనేవి మనం కంప్లీట్గా ఇచ్చేయం ఒకేసారి. అది 10 డేస్కి ఇస్తాం. ఒక్క రోజుకి 0.6 మిలియన్ యూనిట్స్ ఇస్తాం. సో 0.6 మిలియన్ యూనిట్స్ ఒక రోజుకి అలా 10 డేస్ ఇస్తే 10 మిలియన్ యూనిట్స్ అవుతాయి, రైట్? సో అది. సో సింగిల్ డోస్, డైలీ డోస్ అండ్ టోటల్ డోస్. నెక్స్ట్, లోడింగ్ డోస్. Loading dose and maintenance dose, these are somewhat different when compared to single dose and daily dose. Loading dose they use for drugs which have longer half life. We generally give more dose to reach the steady state plasma concentration. And maintenance dose is nothing but half of the loading dose. That's it. Nothing much about loading dose and maintenance dose. So where we give this loading dose and maintenance dose means for those drugs which have long half life. Example, digoxin. Okay, right. Next, we'll talk about these dose response curves now. What is this dose response curves? Right. So here I'll be just drawing two things. It is a drug concentration, and I'm very sorry for these lines. Drug concentration, and this is the response. Drug concentration, and this is the response here. If you just plot this drug concentration and response graph will be like this. This is nothing but hyperbola. That means if you increase the dose, gradually response also will get increased, and later it becomes saturated at one point. So after that point, you will not have exaggerated response. Till then, you will have more response. If you increasing the dose, your response is also more till one point. That is nothing but maximal response. Maximal response. So this is what drug concentration. Now I will take that log of drug concentration. Log of concentration and same response. Instead of hyperbola, we will get sigmoid. This is what log dose response curve. You see here, you need not to know how these graphs are coming. You just remember what those graphs. Normal dose response curve shape is hyperbola, and log of dose response curve shape is sigmoid. Those two things are required for you. So dose response curve. So dose response curve shape is hyperbola, and log of dose response curve shape is sigmoid. Sigmoid. I don't know why these lines are getting, but I'm extremely sorry. So that's it. We need not to know much about these things, right? So here we'll be talking about two things: potency and efficacy. What is potency and what is efficacy? Potency, dose of the drug required to produce the standard effect, is nothing but potency, and efficacy, maximum response reflected by height. Maximum response is nothing but efficacy, which is reflected by height. So what is this potency, efficacy, and how we determine this potency and efficacy? In an easy way, I will tell you. In a graph, if the line is more left, that is more potent. If it is more height, that is more efficacious. So uh, let me make it clear for you people. Here you see, here I have two graphs, drug A and drug B. These are the two log dose response curves. So here I told potency means more left. See, this in these two drugs, which is more left, A. So this is more potent. In these two graphs, which is more height, B. So B is more efficacious. That's it, nothing much. So I told potency and efficacy. How to remember this potency and efficacy? Just mnemonic he. Height. Height, efficacy. Okay? So you will get confused now which is left and which is height, like that. So with a mnemonic he. So more height, more efficacious. Is that clear now? So here you see in this graph, here we have three drugs. This blue color one we call it as A, and this one we call it as B, this one we call it as C. Here you see in these three drugs, three graphs, which is more left, A. So definitely A is more potent. Which is more height? C. Definitely C is more efficacious, right? So what about B then? See, B, it is definitely less potent than A because it is present right to A, and when compared to C, it is just left. That means when compared to C, it is more potent. You understood? Let me tell you once again. Drug B, it is less potent than A, more potent than C. That is in terms of potency. In terms of efficacy, B is more efficacious than A, but less efficacious than B. Fine. Then what about C then? C, it is rightmost thing. That is less potent, definitely, and definitely more potent than A, and definitely more potent than B. You understood? So let's see this example now. There are three drugs X, Y, Z. So we will see which is more potent, which is more efficacious, like that. So X is most left thing, definitely more potent than Y, and definitely more potent than Z, right? Then efficacious, you see these two have almost same equal height. So X is equal efficacious to Z, but it is less efficacious. These are equal efficacious, but less efficacious when compared to, sorry, more efficacious when compared to Y, because it is more height when compared to Y. Is that clear? So X drug is more potent than Y and more potent than Z, and X drug more efficacious than X and equal efficacious with Z. Is that clear with X? Next. Next, we'll talk about Y drug. See, Y drug, it is present right to X drug. That means it is less, but I told you, right? Potency means more left, more potent. So X is more potent. Now Y, it is less potent definitely when compared to X. When compared to X, it is definitely less potent. But see, when compared to Z, this is left. When compared to Z, Y drug is left only. So definitely more potent than Z. You understood? So in terms of potency, Y drug is less potent than X and more potent than Z. So in terms of efficacy, definitely it is less height. So less efficacious than S, X, and less efficacious than Z. So we finished with Y, unless next coming to Z. It is the rightmost thing. So definitely less potent when compared to X and definitely less potent when compared to Y. When compared to efficacy, equal efficacious with X because they both are similar height, equal efficacious. When compared to Y, definitely it is more efficacious because it has more height. So are you getting my point now? So potency means more left, more potent. Efficacy means more height, more efficacious. I told mnemonic, right? He. Again, this line. So, so this is what. So more potent, more left. More efficacious, more height. So I think it is clear what is potency and what is efficacy, right? And now this is your homework. So here we have four drugs A, B, C, D, and you have to tell me, like how I told before, when compared to X, what is Y, what is Z? When compared to Y, how potency is with X, on how efficacious when compared with Z, like that. How I explained in this X, Y in this slide, you have to tell me these four drugs A, B, C, D more regarding potency and as well as efficacy. You have to comment this answer in your YouTube comment box, and those who answer this question correctly, preferably first, preferably first, those who answer this question correctly, they are going to get a good nice reward in my next offline class, maybe from July 1st. uh, you may be coming for offline classes to college, so you'll be getting a nice reward, those who answer this one correctly, preferably first. Okay, right. So now coming to therapeutic index. Here there's a small concept known as therapeutic index. um, right. Therapeutic index, it is nothing but, here I'm not going in detail into therapeutic index. Here I will be just saying formula. Therapeutic index is nothing but toxic dose 50 by effective dose 50. That is nothing but therapeutic index is equal to toxic dose is nothing but lethal dose. Lethal dose 50 by effective dose 50. So uh, let's wind up our session here, and the next part of pharmacodynamics, like maybe like 10 or 15 minutes video, it will be available in your next video. It will be available as next video, not in this video. Thank you.